Alright, we are recording and I need to move some windows around. This is for Yaira 2 in the Omnibus. There we go. Yeah, writers Jen and Sylvia Saska, Deborah Carita, artist, Tiago Gomes, and 137 Studio for inkers, J Brown colorist. And actually, let me quickly look back here. For just, yep, all the same names and positions as before. Let me just a little curious if that's also going to be true for the next, for Yaira 3. Yep, all the same. Okay, so same team did both. Cool. Yaira seemingly defeated the three visitors who sought to bring her to justice for her past misdeeds, but despite her victory, the past refuses to stay dead and buried. She's been riddled with nightmares that feel all too real. The world believes Yaira to have perished in her final battle. However, Dr. Sally Rodell has work still to do. Atlantis awaits. Okay, we got Atlantis now. I mean, there's also the whole... Wait, is Sally, Sally's still around? Because Stefania knew that Yaira had some connection to Sally because it was Sally's home that Stefania was brought to, and that they found Numite and Carmen dead in. So that would mean that Alpha Core and such would have to interview Sally, which, I mean, I guess the whole Superman glasses are that powerful, but it's like, this is, boy, consequences. Again, we get the letter from the opening letter here from the Saska sisters. And again, it's quite long, which again, I don't have a problem with that. Then we get into the comic here. Oh, and to be clear, they are just they are talking about some of the stuff that was in the in Yaira 1, and also the whole, hey, it's really awesome, thank you guys so much for buying this, and Yaira 1, making it a success and all that. We are then shown one of these nightmares where basically Yaira is at the volcano again. The three are alive, but so are her family, who is being killed by who's being killed by the volcano. The three are fighting Yaira, so Yaira cannot help Gorm and their children. But then she wakes up and all that, and it's like, it's still, this isn't good. It says it's been happening for like the past 2 weeks. We then see in her home, she's got the armor under a laser grid to prevent anyone from touching it, except for her. It does also mention it is from my world and capable of being hidden on my form at all times. It's like, okay, that's cool. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but in a situation like that, then wouldn't it make sense to just wear it all the time? I mean, I get she was in bed and she's not wearing much there, and I can understand you taking it off, but at the same time, why have it over there? Why not, like, keep it near your bed or something and just have it hidden? Does also mention, I'm looking forward to unlocking all of its secrets. Okay. No idea what that exactly means. We'll find out eventually, I guess. Yeah, she had, in her position at Projexis, apparently convinced them, or at least Lincoln, that, hey, we can find the lost city of Atlantis. Let's go do that. It gets explained a little later that the place she woke up in at the end of Yaira 1, when she got the armor, was a temple. And it had directions to Atlantis. Okay. I mean, it's just the whole, she just knows where it is now, and she has to come with something of a cover story to get there. We then cut to an Alpha Core facility because we show Stefania still being trained here, but she is still really, really angsty, really, really wants to just get strong enough to kill Yaira, which Ingrid isn't happy about. It's just, you're not the only one with dead family. You let your anger control you, all these great powers, and you have absolutely no self-discipline. Solaria arrives, and he basically just tries to tell her, look, it's fine that you're angry and all that, but you need to have that anger turned towards, like, means of live the life that those you lost would be proud of. But Stefania is still an idiot, and so you can guess that's not actually what's going to happen. And by idiot, I'll be clear, she is still very immature. So now we are in Spain with Yaira here, along with Altona, because they're basically partners in crime. This is after I some 2-word notes, because it's funny. Thank you, Jerry, who's just somebody that. By the way, what happened to you, Dr. Daniels? We can't see in this image. You have to go like a couple pages before. Oh, it's referring to, because it's like, check out ISOM 2, and I go and I look back. I say, I cannot figure out what the heck's going on here. What is this reference to? I also have forgotten that her last name was Daniels. But then, like, going forward, it's like, oh, she's got the black eye still from when Darren? I think it was Darren. I'm going to go with the Darren. Slapped her hard enough to leave a black eye. And it's just, okay, but it's literally, it seems very odd, this comment, because it's in an image, you can't see any detail on Altona's face. So there's no way you'd know that's what Yaira is referring to here. They are also coming off of a plane together. So they were on a plane for however long, and she never asked the question there. It's only now that it's one of those things where this is the most convenient time because this is when you're going to start telling a story. Yeah, but it's still a stupid question to ask here. So, yeah, if it were instead that, like, Altona was already there, that Yaira was late, or just arrived on a later plane, I should say, then say, oh, what's up with your eye? Then you can have something there, but anyway, the dress that Yaira is wearing has some clear colors and ornamentation on it, which does also come and go, it seems. That does suggest it is the armor in disguise. And to explain what I mean by comes and goes, in the first panel here, hang on. I can't tell if in the second, but in the first one, she clearly has a necklace on, which, let me just check. Yeah, that could technically be, because it was like a bar that goes like that, a V there on the armor, that could be it. But it's like, we clearly have necklace here. It is then missing in all subsequent panels. There's also, because, it's a dress. It's meant to fit her form. So it, naturally goes around her breasts. In the first image and second image, you can, actually, yeah, this entire page, every panel that she's in, there is a blue stripe matching the color of the suit. And it's also, the suit itself they're in gold in this image, but you can see the stripes there. When we then come here, they're here, just in blue, and the glare is making that impossible to see. Yeah. But then, on the next page, that's gone. That stripe there is gone. Her hat is she's still wearing her hat. There's this jewel thing on her hip, like where the slit is on that side. It's still there. So it certainly looks like it's the same dress, but suddenly it has a completely different style to it. Well, not completely different style, but the art of it is different. And actually, I should put this in my notes, because that's not a small thing. Now, yes, it is possible time has passed, but it's still, what is going on here? And there's, can I see in, okay, and then later, so it's definitely, this side of the page is where it's first where the lines on the breasts are gone. Second The backside of the page, though, this is clearly like all the same. She's being interviewed, so it's the same coherent piece of time, and it's unlikely that she's like, hang on, let me go change. We can also see that she's wearing the mid-thigh length boots, which again, I'm pretty sure that is just, that matches up with the armor, more or less. So the idea being that it like hides itself, but when it breaks out, the armor would, then like reveal itself from this. So having the pieces already there for it to form into it probably just makes some sense there. But it still is, the dress very clearly changes. And I actually do need to add this in my notes. I kind of saw it, but just kept going by it because I was reading. Also, I'm not feeling that great, so yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. It also stated before that the suit saved her life. It's like, no, Neptune did and also gave you the suit of armor. Anyhow, to the next, the design of her dress, seemingly also the armor in disguise, changes. It starts with a blue stripe, with blue stripes going vertically down her breasts, to then lacking this, but every other element of the dress is the same between these pages. Her thigh length boots are the same. The jewel at the slit is the same. She did lose a necklace, which is confusing too, but easier to change than the dress. Because, it's also, look, I get man brain, not woman brain. I get that. But it still is if I were a dude and knew a woman and it's like, you have the same dress, except for this one marking. It's like, why? It's like, well, if that's the only difference, why are you bothering? Because my expectation for women, and it can be wrong, because man brain, not woman brain. But my expectation is, if you're going to have multiple dresses, and I would expect most would, there's going to be differences between, and not subtle ones, okay? Maybe there would be some women out there where it's like, oh no, I own like 5, and it's basically all the same dress with just minor changes there. It's like, okay, why? Because I like that specific style. It's like, okay, I can understand that. But it still doesn't make any sense to you that she's basically just changing from dress variant A to dress variant B with like no time, with nothing explaining like her leaving, coming back, and literally everything else being said. It just does not make sense. She does finally change out of that to something else here, though, because what she was originally wearing is strapless. We then see her, like, after press conference, I have talked a little bit about, where she's, like, on a veranda, which actually is a number of tables. So in theory, this is actually a restaurant, but it's just her and Altona talking, and now she's in something strapped, and it legitimately could have been technically we can't actually trust what we're seeing there, but it legitimately could just be yeah, that's what I wore because people are going to be seeing me, and this is still appropriate attire, but it's like, now I'm going to put on something that's actually comfortable. So, anyway, going back, though, this press conference, where she's talking about all this stuff, and the whole, yes, we're going for Atlantis. Atlantis, you say? Really? You want us to believe that's real? Of course it's real. Where's it best described? Sorry, my leg just started acting up. She apparently previously had tried to get a mission going to discover Shambhala. So I wonder if that's going to ever come in again. But basically, between this and something later, Sally Rodell is a crackpot. she is very intelligent, but she believes in things that most people would recognize as fairy tales. To be fair, there is some truth in fairy tales, but it still is, yeah. She's kind of a crackpot, and later on, it's not here, is the statement saying that, sorry, I'm just trying to clean something off there. They're basically people saying that, yeah, she should really have all of her credentials stripped of her, but she brings attention, so the scientific community tolerates this. It's like, I mean, yes, that the scientific community is very much in love with attention. Okay, there is no such thing as the ivory tower. Probably never has been, but it's but not necessarily on this level. Like, even that, she would just be seen as a crackpot, and it's like, yeah, you can do your thing. I don't really care, but you're a crackpot, and never think I'm not going to think that of you. Anyway, she tries claiming that the reason why Atlantis has not been found is that it's actually got a psychic cloak on there, but Altona has built a drone, an underwater drone, that's able to, it has a pulse that strongly reacts to psychic interference, which we believe has been cloaking the structure, and so is able to find it. Which could all just be a bunch of hooey, because she just knows where the city is, and may have just been like, hey, Altona, we're going to say that this is what you did. It doesn't need to actually work. Send it here, and we'll find the doorway. So that's what happens. Now she's, having dinner with Altona, except she's not. Turns out it's another nightmare. And in this, Numenite actually appears. Numite appears to her, and this, is kind of setting up that later on what's actually going on. She then decides, since she's up, to just go out and go for a swim into the ocean and find it. And find Atlantis herself. Go through it herself. Which actually, I'm just looking at this and trying to think through some of what's happening here. Because she is, wearing her, what would it technically be considered? I just don't know, because it's like, I know the term pajama, I know the term nightshirt, but it is like, I guess, a night dress. But so she's wearing that. It just shows her putting on her shoes and walking out. And by shoes, I mean high heels, because that's what women apparently keep next to their beds. I don't know, but we don't care. Men don't actually care. Seriously, don't do that. You don't need to do that to yourself. I understand if you want to every now and then wear high heels. I get that. I'm not saying you can't. But we don't actually care. Like, go ahead and just be comfortable. And the idea of having high heels at the side of your bed. What? But anyway, she goes out towards the water and just takes off the night dress, I think is what I was calling it. And she's got on a swimsuit. It's like, was she sleeping in that? Or did she decide, okay, I'm going to take off the night dress. I'm going to put on the swimsuit. I'm going to put the night dress back on. When did it make more sense to, take that off, put on the swimsuit, and then, grab a robe and go out there? That would seem more appropriate. I mean, I can understand that you wouldn't necessarily want to deal with drawing it, but there's also the argument of just, it's the middle of the night. She could just decide to go in naked. I'm just... it's the whole, was she sleeping in the swimsuit, or was she, did she actually put it on and then put the thing on top? It doesn't make much sense to me. Anyhow, so she swims down there. We still don't have the explanation for how she's able to, the swim underwater like this. She seemingly has no problem with breathing underwater. We do get an explanation later. I don't necessarily like it too much, but we'll get to that. Going down there, she has this feeling that she is alone. She has not found Neptune, but she does see various murals on the wall, including "This was your wife, Cleto. she bore you many twin sons. She bore you many of twin sons. Which is just oddly written. They would grow to be powerful kings, warriors who would claim every land that they set foot on in your name. Okay. She then comes up from the depths, back up in the water, and sees that there's somebody on the beach and waving to her. And there's just the whole, who is this? How long have they been there? Which, I mean, I get the whole being a little weirded out, but it's also, even though you just dive down there for however long, even if it is a human that has no idea, and it's like, do you breathe underwater or something? You could just say, oh, no, I came up plenty of times, I like diving down, but you just didn't see me. I was too far away. It is dark. The water has waves. You just didn't see me come up and get the air. I would say that's really, you don't need to be that concerned in that way. It's like, who is that? How long have they been there? How long have they been out to hear? What did they see? It's like they wouldn't have seen anything. It's more I don't want to have to explain to somebody why I'm out taking midnight swim. But again, that's just, that's me being overly critical here. I will grant that. But as she... But yeah, we even get the nothing to see here, just an American tourist going for a night swim on the Spanish banks. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But then it's, the person is actually calling her by name, Yaira. And it's like, oh shit. But it's also who knows Yaira is alive, because the world is supposed to think that Yaira is dead. But then seeing him, she calls him Yeshua. Literally Y'Shua. And I'm just like, okay, well, that's interesting. I wonder what significance there is to that. By the way, there was no indication that she picked up the night dress, or the high heels again. But he is an old friend. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, he's an old friend. Yeshua would be Joshua about 2,000 years ago. And also, it's one of those interesting things that I've seen some people make some stupid arguments, but Yeshua developed both into Joshua and into Jesus. That how the name developed, how the pronunciation developed, it went into both those directions. So like the root meaning of both is actually the same as I recall, but it is still technically, if you were alive at the time of Jesus, it would not have been pronounced Jesus. It would have been, if you would pronounce it that way, it would be Yeshua. I did actually see something like that long ago, because that's one way to pronounce it. There's other ways that you pronounce that name. So he actually would have been called by many names. Well, yes, he would have been called by many names, but it was always the same name. It's just like very different pronunciations because different languages, different dialects. So it's, I'm just trying to think what would be a good analogy with my own name of James. It would be like, some people call me James in the hard J. Some people call me James, like pronouncing the J differently, something like that. It's the same name, but it would just be different dialects there. Anyhow, but she's all happy. How is this possible? And then he explains everyone knows that Yanessa came here to recover you. Yanessa, Yatoni, and Magus Numite all left with the sole goal of bringing you home to face justice. You need not worry about them and all that. And I'm just reading this. I'm like, this screams too good to be true. Okay, I mean, it's old friend from your world has somehow traveled to Earth. There's still been no explanation for how her species travels between stars, between planets, but in any case, is here. And it's like, oh great, this is wonderful. And she's just telling him everything. I get old friend, but it's still, hey, the people that came here to get you by force failed. Now this guy's here and it's like, hey, if you come back, you can help lead our people into freedom. So the stick failed, here's a carrot. And she's like, nope, can't do that. We will not return empty-handed. None would be able to deny him, referring to Neptune, who had left previously and prior to her, was never found. It's like, hey, I might be able to find him, then we bring him back. We'll be so much better. And then she also, I assume, texts Altona and is like, I'm going to need ID for a friend from out of town, whatever you need. So they set up Yeshua here to be Joshua Van Wolf, master scuba diver, to explain him going with Yaira, just Yaira, on the mission. We then finally get some more explanation for what her crimes are. As she looks over at him sleeping on the guest bed while she is... Well, honestly, I'm not sure if she is necessarily going to sleep because of the nightmare situation, but in any case. Although, now that makes me wonder a little bit. Just noticing something here. Anyhow, it looks like from what the panel, the page here is saying, they were childhood friends, and it is banned for them. They have these powers naturally. Yaira's powers are natural to her, potentially to him as well. But it's banned for them to use them. So I assume it's something like the whole species have it, but only the royals are allowed to use it. And she's a commoner. She was effectively referred to as a peasant in the previous book. In the previous story. But she is using them because, it's my power inside me. Why would I not use this? And even has the line of, how could my feet stay on the ground when I was born to fly? But one thing I just noticed, okay, but that also tells me it's not the case, is in the background, because they have a bunch of planets that you can see, or moons. One of them is clearly like a low-resolution version of Jupiter. Because you can even see what, not only do we have the bands, but it can also see what looks like the Great Red Spot. And it's like, okay, some of these other worlds around it are just like monochrome balls with some lines put on them. But I see on this next page, we see more that are kind of similar to Jupiter. So be like, okay, multiple gas giants. You would not see them this large, that close. And that close. Like, this is... Because I was just thinking, is it possible that they are actually, like, from a moon of Jupiter? Which would explain seeing some of this, but then it's like, oh no, there's... Also have the image of multiple other gas giants that are very large. And it's like, okay, that... It still is a, can that explain it? Maybe. But I don't know. This world has not been explained yet. Well, their home world has not been explained yet. So yeah, it doesn't make sense. But hey, at least we're getting some of it. And now, true, the whole idea that only the royals, only the nobles are allowed to use these powers, that is something I'm extrapolating from what's here. It is consistent, but I could be wrong. The next day, we are shown the very large submarine that they are going to take going down, which is also a little funny because we then only see Yaira and Joshua on it. And it's like, this is not a like 2-person submarine. This is... I could see being crewed by like 24 people easily. There is some question there about, hey, it's a company going after Atlantis here. You're just doing this stuff as though you are free to do so. Potentially this is a war crime. It's like, no, it's not. Well, no, sorry, not a war crime, but an act of war. Explain the innocence of what could be seen as an act of war over dinner. So the dude's trying to hit on Altona. It's fine, but it's like, this is stupid. I mean, yes, you do need... There is an international law that has to be followed concerning the exploration and discovery of various things. But it's not established if this is in international water or if it's in Spain's territory. Actually, now I am wondering about that. Would you need special permission? Because Projexis has a Spanish facility there, such that if they're operating out of that, so then it's like a Spanish entity doing this. How many wouldn't they need fewer permits and such then? I'm not sure. But in any case, the two get on board to go down there. As I said, they are the only two depicted on being in the submarine that's quite large. Then we get this news reporter giving us some more background on her. For those of you unfamiliar with Dr. Sally Rodell's flamboyant and unorthodox approach to science, this is a spectacle sport for her. Sally trained to be an Olympic-level athlete. Because of this, she's amassed an almost cult-like following in the scientific community. She's known for wild publicity stunts to gain views, but it's just like, I'm not sure if the scientific community would care that, oh, okay, so you're an Olympian too. Okay, so what? She believes in angels, she believes in dragons, she believes in aliens. I'm just trying to think, has there actually been something in the Rippaverse that basically like, yeah, aliens are real, we all know that. I'm actually not sure. But anyway, she has been quoted saying magic is real and that everyone possesses some kind of psychic ability. Dr. Sally Rodell should have her credentials revoked by every license-granting governing body, but they keep her around for the views she attracts with spectacles like this. She is blatantly endangering lives and promoting dangerous thought experiments. Multiple problems with this. For one thing, a news reporter would never be allowed to actually say that, because that is very much opinion. She's a news reporter, she's not at all indicating, we don't even get this reporter's name, but she is speaking on behalf of a community that she is not necessarily part of. And it's just that's not really appropriate, but it's also dangerous thought experiments. It's like, a thought experiment is only in your mind. There's nothing inherently dangerous to that. Unless you want to get into thought crime concepts, but... And the idea that, she attracts views and therefore she gets away with this stuff. It's like, yeah, that can happen, but it is also, if you actually do the work, I mean, it's, crap, I don't remember which one, but a year ago? Well, last year at least. With the whole possible discovery of a very large structure beneath the pyramids. Because I did see some of the analysis of that work and people talking about it, and how basically one of the people behind it, he's kind of a crackpot. And would be very much like this, believes in aliens, believes in this, believes in that, and it's like, okay. But if the work he has done here, even if his interpretation is wrong, if he has in fact come up with a legitimate method for scanning very deep under the surface to discover things like this, that's still significant. It doesn't matter if he's a crackpot. He still has discovered something very important. So yeah, we'll see how that ends up going in real life. But in any case, we then have just Altona, because she's staying on land, and is talking about stuff about how the specific submarine is able to go down into the Marianas Trench. Even they're not going nearly as deep. We then cut to on the submarine. They lose contact just because they go so deep that the video signal cuts off. Audio continues. As I look at the design now, it literally is looking like a jet, because it's got 3 engines that are just glowing, and it's like, yeah, it does look like what somebody would design for a submarine if all you actually know is how jets look. Very different kind of vehicle. Anyway, once down there, they put on helmets. They're already in wetsuits, but they put on helmets that will allow them to communicate up top. There is a point that Joshua makes. Is this really necessary, Yaira? The pressures of our world are far stronger than these depths. Pulling oxygen from water is the sign of an evolved species, and just things like that. And it's like, I really want to know more about our homeworld now, because the hell kind of situation you're talking about that you have pressures that high, and the pulling oxygen. I mean, it's like, do you guys just live underwater there? I mean, it's because why would you then evolve to look human? Fishes don't look like human. They're very well adapted to that environment. And you're telling me that these very humanoid-looking people... No. Also, the idea of pulling oxygen out of water is a sign of an evolved species. It's like, I'm just thinking, how does that necessarily make sense? Because I'm just... Oxygen is more readily pulled from the air, which means that mammals have developed to be able to use massive amounts of oxygen, probably more than any fish. Now I'm kind of curious. I'm not sure I could look that up, though. How much oxygen does, like, a whale shark need? Because that's one of the larger fish. And it is indeed a fish. Whereas normal whales are not. They are mammals. But they can grow to far larger sizes, like the blue whale is the largest animal in existence today. And I think it is also the largest mammal that there's no evidence of any prior mammal, like prehistoric mammal, being larger. I think that's the case. I could be wrong there. But still, it's just... I don't know. It's one of those things where the pressure thing is just like, oh, okay, I guess, whatever, moving on. But the line of pulling oxygen from water is a sign of an evolved species, it's like, okay, this is just stupid. At least putting it like that. I mean, if it was something like, we don't need this, our bodies are well adapted to to use a minimal amount of oxygen, and we can pull some from the water. I mean, it's just... Anyway, they go in. And initially it's, there's a bunch of, very deep sea creatures here that are, ugly, but the abyssal fish are uncharacteristically curious of our approach. I think that is actually accurate. I'm gonna have to check, but I have seen some stuff talking about fish like that, and it's like, no, they legitimately are almost ignorant of people when they are down there. I mean, some will investigate, but a lot of times they just don't care. They just keep going about their lives. Which actually a lot of animals are like that, but you also run into issues with, like, sharks are curious things. Right? So they may come up and try to investigate. Hey, what are you? I've not seen anything like you before. How do they investigate that? With their teeth. Yeah. I think I've seen that given as an explanation for why so many sharks, they basically will bite a human and then leave. They don't always, some certainly do, but they don't always actually try to devour a human. Because they're just investigating, and then they leave. But they get that information and then they leave. So anyway, as they are continuing to go, their flashlights are not super effective, so Yaira's like, what do we need a flashlight for? And just, like, starts having her hands glow to put out more light. As they arrive at Atlantis, which now also has a colossal octopus there that is going to attack them, as though it's defending the place, and this causes their masts to break. So they're fine, because they can breathe underwater and all that. And that actually just gave me an idea of how to go back on one thing and explain that. But anyway, their radar is also gone. So now technically no one knows what's happening to them, so that's bad. But it also means that no one can know what they're doing, so that Yaira would be free to use her powers. Joshua here is never shown with any powers like her. Now maybe be clear on that, okay? Maybe he doesn't have them. Maybe he just never developed them. Like they're there, he just doesn't know how to use them because he's always followed the law that I'm assuming exists. One thing, though, just occurred to me, because we do see with them thrashing about and such, but also does seem like there is air coming out of their mouths. I don't think any fish produce bubbles. And that kind of goes back to the whole, what I was saying before about the amount of oxygen that a mammal uses. We use enough air that when we exhale, if we exhale underwater, it produces a bubble. It produces more air than would be dissolved into the water rapidly. If they're also using that level, then it doesn't make sense that they would be breathing in enough air fast enough to survive. Unless it is as I said, their body is able to use very low levels, and so between what's already in your lungs and what little bit you can bring in, they're fine. They can go for extended periods of time. But if they are indeed breathing out You'd say if bubbles are involved here, you'd say, okay, that's a very high concentration of air, of oxygen there, that you don't get, that doesn't dissolve into the water quickly, so it's not going to be pulled out of the water either. Like, I am making the assumption that's going to be somewhat symmetrical in terms of amount and also speed, so basically density. And now, could just be that, hey, we're drawing bubbles because people are moving through it, are moving through water, and hey, when you move through water, there's bubbles. It's like, no, there isn't. Not necessarily. But it's still, I can see it being there and just help with movement, but it's still, Anyway. She manages to remove one of the octopus's tentacles, so it swims off. They continue light this far beneath the water, and do I hear music, and basically come to a court that has a bunch of like jail cell barred doorways and also a bunch of statues. And once there, they start being attacked. And just shortcut it. They are wraiths, and so she is very... she struggles to fight them, so does he, but Joshua's not as powerful as she is. But yeah, because no matter what they do, the wraiths just recover because they're not physical entities. They then also encounter Cleto here. My sons, please don't hurt them. And it's basically like, yeah, they're mine and Neptune's children. They're guarding me. I'm imprisoned here. Please stop hurting them. We then go to years ago in a far-off place. Yaira, please wait. This is Yaira shortly before she leaves, and Joshua's here. And she is basically leaving their world, and is doing so with a sword. Specifically, the sword that we saw in Yaira 1, that she actually used to kill Numite, that she... hang on, where is it? No, it's earlier than this. I want to check on her arrival on Earth. For how that was depicted. I think I accidentally went over it. I know I had looked at it previously, like when I was going through Yaira 1. But I want to just check it again because it's relevant again. Yeah. Okay. Her crashing down to Earth, she was naked, and there's nothing, like, on her back, nothing she's holding in her hand, absolutely nothing here, and yet, like, it was even shown here, the sword that she gave Gorm was glowing. It is the same sword she then used against Numite, and it's the same sword shown here, because there's a specific pattern on the hilt. She never had it earlier, though, except after arriving on Earth, so I am annoyed by this, because it does seem like, oh yeah, she just had that with her, and it's a special magic sword. It's like, no, it's not. You should have had her with it then earlier, but you didn't. But it is the moment here is like she's stealing this, and he's telling her, don't go. If you do, you'll never be able to return. You'll be called a traitor, and she says, I will return. When I do, I will be a hero. I'll be called a hero. Anyway, moving on. Talking with Cleto here. And she's claiming that, yep, I was Neptune's wife. We had many sons together, but because their lifespans were already unnaturally long at 800 years, but that wasn't enough for him, so he decided to sacrifice the souls of their children to make Cleto immortal, and now their wraiths are tasked with guarding her, so she can't escape. Blah, blah, blah. Moving on, Cleto is suddenly out of her cage, and leads them to the location that Neptune is going to be. And a point is claimed here that it's like, if you could have escaped, I wouldn't have gone far. But then we see Neptune here and like continuing this old argument that I did this because I love you and I want you to always be with me. Yep, Sure. I mean, look, you have to be able to accept death, even if you're an immortal. But if you're not an immortal, if you are an immortal, then why did you marry her? Why did you marry a mortal if you are immortal? And also the idea that, oh, I love you so much, I'm going to kill our children. No. It would be more like, hey, can I kill you to make one of our kids immortal? And I could see potentially Cleto being more like, I still got some use, but ask me again a little later. And I might be okay with that one. But Neptune goes off, Yaira goes after him, and it's like, why don't you hear me? Why are you not hearing me? And then she sees the wraiths again, and one of them appears as Gorm. Then more appears as children. And this is when it finally dawns on her, and she activates her armor, so the wetsuit disintegrates around her. That basically Numite is still around-ish. Not physically. She physically killed him. But, if only Numite would have died so easily. I should have seen the signs of his astral self clinging to me, but this nightmare ends now. Then leads to a large fight between the two of them, with her either intentionally or unintentionally summoning up a storm to fight him. But the problem is that she's experiencing the hallucinations from the nightmare, but is awake. So she is actually just summoning up a massive storm that's destroying, or at least threatening, the city nearby, including Altona, who she does want to help. It also reveals her existence to Stefania, so we will cut to that. But one thing I also want to point out is Yaira, okay, she can fly and all that. It makes some sense that she has made it up to the top this quickly. Joshua is just shown on the coast already here. Like, he's also already come up. And he's yelling at her to stop. But it is too good to be true. Screams too good to be true, so I put it earlier. It's like, I can believe that he's fake. He's not real. Don't know. We'll see. Like, we don't know where reality is and hallucination is for Yaira, or when it necessarily started. But Yaira is... yeah. I've been deceived into revealing myself. I will not be used to destroy the city. I can stop this. Stefania is seeing the news reporting here and is like, well, I gotta go kill her now. And Ingrid is telling her, no, you're not doing that. It won't fill the emptiness she feels. So her response is, all right, I'm just gonna knock out Ingrid. It's a horrible idea. I mean, seriously, bad idea. She's a very immature woman, though, Stefania. So, yeah, where was it? Where is it? I thought I did see a line. Where was it? Oh, no, here it is. Okay. With somebody on the ground saying, why would you cause a storm just to stop it? She's fighting something that we can't see. Which is definitely a problem. So then this question of, is she in fact insane? And that's where it ends. Ends on a cliffhanger. But it is just, at least they are recognizing that, this is more involved than we may think it is. It's not just as simple as Yaira is evil. Yaira is the bad guy. It's not as simple as that. So, okay, good. At least somebody's intelligent enough to see it, because that was one issue that I had with Solari in the previous story. They seemed especially stupid with that. Just always, nope, she's evil, she's malicious. But, it ends on a cliffhanger, which, well, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it, because I hate this. I hate that. So it's like, I mean, true, there's other reasons to not like them, but the Matrix sequels. I like the Matrix, the original Matrix. It's right down there. But I really don't care for when I have seen the Matrix 2 and 3. Part of the reason why I don't like them is arguably, no, they're one movie that they just cut in half, ending on this weird cliffhanger. And it's like, the story isn't complete yet. It's like, I'm good with some cliffhangers where it's like, well, no, you still finish the story. Like Empire Strikes Back. Does it end on a cliffhanger? Technically, yes. But also ends at a time of rest. Like, the story has come to a rest. Yes, Han is missing. They have to get him. But we're searching for him now. We're going to try to figure out what happened while Luke recovers. Lando and Chewie are going out. It's like, okay, it's still, the story has ended. It's just has ended with the loss of Han. That's fine. That's not a cliffhanger like this, where she's literally hanging in the air. The storm is around her. She's trying to control that. She's also having to fight things that no one else can see but her. So, yeah, it's just, I don't like endings like that. I don't, because complete the story. That's just kind of how it is to me, is complete the story. I understand the importance and value of cliffhangers, but if the story isn't complete, you shouldn't have ended it yet. You shouldn't have stopped. So there's that. In the end, the Yaira one I gave straight recommendation to, so that's a 3. This one, now I'm giving it a weak recommendation. I still did enjoy it, but there's just more of the issues. So many more issues here. Because, like, in Yaira 1, no, I was just enjoying reading it. I still feel I'm not much of a comic book reader. I'm not much for them, so there's still that issue. But this is different. It just felt less quality. It did feel, that's not the great way to put it. But it had more things that to me are issues. And it's also like, I don't trust Joshua. I really don't. Fine, I didn't see Newmite coming necessarily, but the idea that, it's like the moment finding Cleto and the Wraiths there, and it's like, Yaira had just been down there the night before, right? So had just been there, and didn't see any of this stuff. So it's like, this is odd. And then it's like, oh, yeah, Cleto is down here, she's alive. She's breathing underwater, which is also itself a problem, because she's supposed to be human. Not whatever the species is Yaira. So how is she breathing down there? She'd need food and such. I mean, just none of it makes sense. And so it's like, yeah, no, this is... I was really expecting to be more like, yeah, I'm imprisoned here by Neptune because I'm evil. I was kind of expecting that as opposed to the whole thing being fabricated by Newmite. But even without that, it still is it felt kind of obvious. That's like, yeah, you're going to be betrayed here. The betrayal itself was slightly different, but it wasn't that big a deal. I don't think it was that significant. It's also the moment Neptune was just like ignoring her. It's like, okay, no, something's off. He's not real. This isn't true for him either. Is this a false Neptune? It's like, oh, well, yeah, it is. The whole thing's false. So I guess another way to put it, because I can see some people arguing that, well, so many stories are formulaic, so many stories are generic, they're just copies of this or that other story. It's like, yeah, but if they're well told, you don't notice it. You don't think about that. This, it wasn't that well enough told. So it's like, yeah, I saw twists that were coming from the first line starting us on that path towards it. So, and I'm fairly confident that in Yaira 3, we're going to find something out about Joshua. Like, nah, he actually is, he was sent to recover her as well, but carrot instead of stick. So, yeah, I fully expect that. I might be surprised, but it still is if he doesn't do that, I might be surprised, but it still is like, well, how are you going to handle that? Because it might still be done in a way that it's not going to be like, oh, wow, no, I didn't see it coming. He was actually a good guy. Might be achieved that way, but it might also just be like, nah, you always was. And it's like, okay, so manage the reader's expectations. Because I do think, yes, there would be some people like, oh, that's cool. Her old boyfriend is around. That's nice. And also some people like me, they'd be like, oh no, this is obviously a trick somehow. You need to manage somebody like me seeing it that way and thinking, I'm not trusting this. You need to manage that somehow, and hopefully it is managed well. And or it's just, no, he is a trick. That can also work, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's at best a weak recommendation. Maybe when I go through and write this up, I'll bump it down. I think if I were to bump it down, that it would only go to a positively flavored failure to recommend. So from the category 2 to category 1, that's possible. But right now that's not quite what I'm feeling. So yeah. Wow, under an hour. Cool. I don't know if that will. Well, no, it will end up happening again because after Yaira 3 are the Saints and Sinners stories, which I'll do those separately. And I think those were supposed to be 16 pages long. Except for one that ended up being 17 pages, which, hearing about that, I'm not sure which one it. Let me actually see if I can quickly get to their title pages and figure that out. Just noticed that. That's actually a little interesting. Stefania's uniform shows a cross on her at the collar on her neck. But in Yaira 2 cover D, we see her like in its portrait kind of thing. It's like someone very detailed, not at all there. Anyhow. Okay. Okay, that's Babyface. You're going too far. Because, like, yeah, okay, this is it. Bone God. Because I'm pretty sure Callum Edmonds, that's Mauler. And so they were all told for their Saints and Sinners stories, because each one is a different writer, that, yeah, you get 16 pages and that's it. But Mauler is also known as the Long Man because he makes really long videos. And the story he came up with, though, ended up being 17 pages long, and they actually allowed it just because, the people deciding it, which I think was Sasaska's, actually were like, no, it's so good we couldn't cut it down another page. But it was a bit of a joke, because, like, oh, the Long Man, obviously, he gets a little bit longer. He can have more stories. He can have more pages. It's just like a joke, but then it's like, no, actually, that's what happened. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that has to be it, because the other names I recognize as other people. And also I know his name isn't Jay, because that has one of them there. Anyhow, but yeah, so those videos will probably be short. Yeah. Hey, I'm still under an hour. And I'll stop now, so yeah. See you next time for Yaira 3, finishing off that story, and then as I was flipping through, it looks like she does appear in others. We'll see how that goes. Alright. See you next time.